Coming up next on The Health Hustle.
Take care of your mental health. Take care of your mental health. It's super important. Like, just to give you an example, like when I was in Vegas, when I started this, I used to work 20 hours a day. And I used to wake up at 4 a.m., going to the gym for like 2.5 hours, eating really everything like was like military. And I was like putting all the work. But the problem is that I had no clarity. That's like the first thing. The second thing is that I did not take care of my mental health. Like I didn't take time to slow down, to connect to myself, to connect with others. It's so important having community and support and connect to yourself and take care of you so you can take care of everybody else, so you can show up for others.
Hey folks, and welcome to the Health Hustle of Austin, Texas. On this show, we uncover the big ideas from your fellow health and fitness entrepreneurs in the Austin, Texas area about how they built their business and the lessons they learned along the way. Hey y'all, Corey here, and on this episode, I had a chance to sit down with Hanna Stone. She has one of the most interesting backstories of anybody that I've met here in Austin. It's one of the main reasons that I wanted to bring her onto this show is that she grew up in a very Orthodox Israel family where she describes it as a cult-like experience growing up in this religious environment, and somehow found her way into the United States. And so we cover that entire journey. Some of the things that we get into are what it was like even growing up in Israel, just in general, why she decided to join the Israeli army, why the phrase create your own path is important to her. And I didn't even realize that actually on the interview, which you'll catch during the episode. But it's kind of an interesting little nugget that we pull out of there. Business lessons from a romantic relationship that she was in, why she thinks the human experience is cool, living in Las Vegas, moving to Austin, getting into fitness, putting yourself out there. We hit a short stint on psychedelics, which she's very into now, the importance of taking care of your mental health, and so much more. One last thing, if you're a health or fitness professional and you're having difficulties getting leads, I have a free 7-step process that walks you through how to convert your social media into paying clients. You can find the link in the description of this episode. Without further ado, let's go. So I want to start in Israel, where you grew up, because I think even just starting there's a lot to learn about how you ended up today where you're at as an online trainer and some of the things we were talking about that you want to do ahead of you. Can we maybe start of what your experience was like growing up in Israel?
Whew, are you ready for it? Okay. So I grew up in a Orthodox family in Israel. So it's not just like regular normal family in Israel. It's like super Orthodox. So my parents both became religious. It was very like culty. No radio, no TV, no super closed, like bubble. No one goes in and out. So we weren't allowed to do a lot of things like wear certain clothes or eat certain things. Like everything was a no. So it's just like growing up to like a no, it's forbidden. You're going to go to hell, these things.
It sounds like North Korea. It sounds like you're just locked into this way of life. So even, I know you've said in the past about you feel like a bit of a black sheep in relation to your other siblings because there's 11 of you, right?
Yeah.
So how did you even begin to figure out that there was another way of life if you were in such a bubble like that?
So my parents became religious when we went to like holidays with my grandma. So I would see like my cousins that they're like normal, and my aunt came out like from America because my dad is originally from America. So she came and she came like with her free spirit and like non-religious, and we saw it a little bit. So we had glimpse of like, oh, there's something else, but we just don't know what it is.
Where's your dad from?
He's from Chicago originally.
Okay. So he's an American, and then you guys moved over to Israel for what reason? Just to be a part of that community?
So my dad moved to Israel when he was 25. He was very like extra smart, and he was kind of like lost. He had like spiritual awakening and he was lost. He went and traveled the world, and he's Jewish. So he went to Israel. They saw him. They got him. He was lost. I need something. So he met my mom in arranged marriage, 4 dates, got married, had 11 kids. Bam.
Damn. Okay. So there seems to be a degree of them being lost and being essentially pulled into this cult as like a better way of life, essentially. Yeah. What did you feel like you learned? Because I know you stuck around until you were 14. What did you learn in that 14 years of life growing up in this community with these people?
I learned that I am a free spirit. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like... My mom used to treat everybody, like all the kids, it's like just the way it is over there. All the kids, the older ones, they help raise the other kids. And it's just like you have to help, clean, all that, which was awesome and I could do it maybe, but if there's no warmth and no love and no like I'm proud of you and you're doing good, you know, from your parents, then it's kind of like a little hard. So I was like a very, very tough kid. Out of the 11 kids, I was like very rebellious, and I never, you know, I just did pretty much whatever I wanted, didn't care about.
Did you get along with your siblings then?
I did get along with my siblings, and I always had friends. However, my mom didn't like me. Like, so I was like the middle one. Like I was like a heart attack burger, like 5 older than me, 5 younger than me. It's not just a regular sandwich.
The heart attack burger? Okay, I've never heard that before, but that's good. So you sort of had an inkling growing up that just you weren't fit in for this community. So it almost sounds like you're just naturally very disagreeable. Is that safe to say?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. And are you still that way? Are you still pretty disagreeable, just generally speaking?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
100%.
Has that ever gotten you in trouble or in sticky situations or?
Well, the thing is, I'm very cautious. I'm a cautious person. Like, I'll always follow the rules, but if it's like not something if it's legal, I guess. I mean, I guess depends, but it's like I'm gonna be following the rules like general, but I will always be the weirdest person in the group. Like I'm always gonna, and you can see it by the way I dress, you know, by the way if you see my content, like I'm very sarcastic and very like, just like the way I just don't want to, I'm not trying to be like normal, you know?
Yeah. What would you say is the most unique, odd, peculiar thing that you've done over the years?
Just the fact that I came from where I came from and went to the army in Israel. It was a huge no-no, because in Israel, it's like mandatory to go to the military, but not if you're like religious, especially not if you're a woman. So that's like a huge no-no. And then, you know, moved to the US by myself when I was 21 after the army with like, I mean, I think there's like all of these things that I've been doing in my life. It's like kind of like doesn't make sense, but I did it because I had no choice, because feeling free is like the number one thing for me. So if I don't feel free, I'm going to do whatever it takes for me to feel free.
It's very American of you. Freedom. So counter to that though, so you joined the military when you were 18, correct?
Yeah, when I was 19.
19? Okay. Mm-hmm. And why, first of all? And secondly, what did you learn from that? And what can we take away from going to the military in Israel? I know nothing about Israel military.
Yeah, so there are a few things in my life that I can look back and say, wow, this was like really good things that I've done. Definitely number one was leaving my parents' house when I was 14. Number two is joining the army. So when I joined the army, I joined because I wanted to be like a normal person in Israel. I felt like, you know, men and women are completely separated from age 0. So I wanted to be normal in the society, act like a normal person, do normal things like in my country. So I went to the army, and it was a really good decision. And I was an operational driver, so I drove the Humvees, the trucks, and all that. Went to the field. I learned a lot of cool stuff, a lot of discipline. Also learned how to being very cautious about, you know, because they always said that I'm like the most cautious driver. But yeah, I mean,
because of your experience in the army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I drive pretty well. And also, I think my skills with working under pressure, and it's just like I'm okay with pressure. And I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I'm doing it less and less, but I think the army really taught me to do that in the discipline, for sure.
I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised that your siblings didn't also gravitate towards some of that stuff, because I think that there's a natural human desire to, especially as a kid, to want to feel normal and to want to feel accepted. And it sounds like you were in this little subset of Israel of like a very small percentage of people experience this way of life. And it definitely probably made all of your siblings, for lack of a better word, odd or different. So I'm a little shocked as to why your other siblings didn't gravitate towards that. Do you have any idea why that would be?
Well, a lot of them stayed in the religion. A lot of them are still religious. I have 2 sisters here. So one of them did go to the army. The other one, they got married when she was 19, so she was still religious. So a whole different story, but they're not there anymore. But yeah, I think it's definitely the fact that they just comfortable.
That's literally the word I was going to use. It sounds like they probably were just comfortable and complacent with where they grew up, how things were going, and you just weren't okay with that.
Yeah, no, it wasn't comfortable for me.
Okay. And so after getting out of the military, that's when you officially decided to come over to the States, correct?
So I was in culinary school for like a year, and then I moved here.
Okay. And what was the itching to come to the States? Like, what was the motivation behind that?
So I always knew I'm gonna live here just because I never felt belong in Israel. And also I have family here. So I have two sisters here. So I kind of like came after them. And also all my father's sides are here. And even though they weren't in Israel while I was growing up, I somehow felt like I'm closer to them because I felt like more warmth from them, and I know like super cold, my family in Israel.
What did you think about America? Because you had never been to America prior to that, correct?
No.
What did you think about America before actually coming over here? Like, what was your perception of this country?
I just thought about freedom. Going back to that.
America, freedom, do whatever you want. So was it that America was essentially selling that dream of living a free life essentially that you wanted? Was that, do you think that's what drew you to it? Because there's a lot of countries you could have gone to, right? So I'm just curious as to what it was about America that you were like, I really want to go there. Were they like pumping some Nike ads in Israel where you're like, that's cool? Or I don't know. I'm just curious as to what it was.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think definitely 100% yes. I don't think I would be where I'm at now if I was for like in Israel. 100%. No way. I think all the events that came up since I came here and the struggle, and I came here with $30 in my pocket, and I was like, just kind of like threw myself in places, and I'm like, I learned over and over again. It's actually something I learned in the army that was really like a good lesson for life. So when I was driving the Humvee, like in the out in the field, even like always when I got to a point where it seems like there's no way out, it's like I always found a little way in the side, like out. And it's like it kept happening to me, like in life actually, like where there's a point where I'm like, I feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna drown. I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I don't have like money. I don't have this. But it's like almost like I always had a side way that I could find, and I went through that way. And it's like by now I'm like, even if things get stressful, I know that it's gonna be okay. I'm not gonna drown.
Yeah, that analogy is explained a few different ways. One of the ones that comes to mind is, are you familiar with The Third Door?
No.
It's a great book. The title kind of explains exactly what you're talking about. Is like most people are aware of, like, take a club, for example, that there's a front door where you can wait in line for 3 hours to get in the club. There's a back door if you know, like, somebody, CEO or owner of the club. But most people forget that there's a third door. Like sometimes you can jump through the window, the side of the hall or the side of the alley, or there's like some other like secret passageway under the building. And that's a lot of what you're kind of describing is like, there's always another way, even if you can't see it. What was the most unique experience that you've maybe had of like finding that third door, or finding that unique way of to like finding your own path?
Create your own path. Wait to do. Yeah.
Whoa, that's like subliminal. I didn't even notice that tattoo.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I feel like it's always going back to yourself, going back to your heart, go back to your body, go back to yourself. You're not gonna drown, and you're not gonna die. Like, I mean, the way I look at it, it's kind of like really dark humor, but what's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna die? Okay, even if you're gonna die, like, either you become nothing or you just continue. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like very bad joke, but it's really like what's the worst that's gonna happen?
Totally agree. I think Tim Ferriss talks a lot about that. A fear setting is basically whatever it is you're trying to achieve is basically write down all the worst case scenarios. Like literally write down everything horrible that can happen. And 99 times out of 100, you realize like, first of all, it's probably not that big of a deal. And two, there's probably a way out of it, even if that scenario did happen, right? Mm-hmm. So two questions. One is, coming here with, what'd you say, $30-some in the bank account?
$30 in my pocket.
$30. So
didn't even have a bank account.
Where did you live? What did you do? And how did you figure that out? That's my first question. And then my second question, and you can take these in either order, is do you have any other scenarios in your life where it was like you felt like you were so down and out and there's no way you're going to figure it out, but you figured it out anyways?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I had a lot of those.
Okay.
I actually had one of those like pretty recently.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the first one because, I think it's like more straightforward. I came here, well, I told you I have two sisters here. So when I moved here, the reason why I moved here is because there was this company that it's like they have Israelis working for them. It's like the kiosks at the malls, like they usually do that. So they were in Arizona and they basically wanted to have me because I have citizenship. So they flew me over. And I tried to do that, and it's very hardcore selling crap. Sorry, crap. Sorry, but it's just like I don't believe in the product, so it's very hard for me to sell something I don't believe in.
It was like makeup or something, right?
It's like a like skincare product that are
yeah.
not very clean, like not very good. So I tried to do that for 2 weeks, and then I was like, you know what? It's not for me. I'm not gonna do that. So then my sisters lived in Vegas, and
Where
I was
were
like,
you living at the time?
that was in Arizona.
Okay, but where, like, what?
Oh, they had like buildings for the people. So basically,
they housed
provided,
you, they give you a job, they fed you, all that. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got
And
it.
you basically like you get like a percentage from what you're making.
Got it.
But I didn't make much money those two weeks, and my sisters were in Vegas. It's 5 hours drive. I was like driving there, and I was like, I decided I'm just gonna move to Vegas, and I'm gonna find like a regular job because I can actually work anywhere I want because I'm a citizen, you know. So I moved to Vegas 2 weeks later. Came to stay with my sister and my brother-in-law for probably 3 months or so, 4 months maybe. And I started working at a New Balance store. And then for 2 months, and then I started working as a server at a restaurant. It was like an Israeli restaurant in Vegas. So it was easy because the owner was like an Israeli. And when I moved to the US 7 years ago, it was like my English was pretty broken, even though my parents spoke English, but they never spoke English to us. So it's like I heard the language. That's why I don't have like a heavy Israeli accent, but that's how, you know, I got into it like smoothly, like soft landing.
So this kind of explains your heart attack burger joke. Isn't there a restaurant in Las Vegas where they sell some heart attack burger that's like the most fattening, deadly thing ever?
Oh my God, you got into me. You're onto me now.
Yeah, right?
That's where I got the joke from. The heart attack burger.
Okay.
I never ate there.
Because it's some like 3,000 calorie burger or something like that.
So you know
isn't
the
it?
thing about this restaurant, if you go on a scale, there's a huge scale in the entrance of the restaurant. If you go on the scale and you're over like 300 pounds, you get a free burger. It's like they encourage you to be overweight so you can get free burgers. It doesn't make sense.
It's kind of like Planet Fitness and their pizza weekend days and their Tootsie Rolls in the front. And it's kind of like you're promoting an odd thing, right? It just seems very unique.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so what about the second part of that question of what were maybe some other experiences in your life? You said there was one recently of maybe when there was like you thought it was dire and it ended up working out anyways.
Yeah, so when I took an online course for like fitness coaches, like probably February a year ago, and I took the course, and then first month, March, I made the most money I've ever made in my entire life. Like I made almost like 40K in sales in like the first month. And then 3 months later, I met my ex-boyfriend, and since we started dating, my business started to go down. Like he was like, I hate putting labels, but he was like really like narcissist, like stage A narcissist, like very crazy. And it just like took me down because everything had to go through him, and I almost like didn't want to go that route. And the last month that I was with him, which was last month of 2022, I made $3,000.
So what changed? What was it about that made things go that direction?
It's because everything had to go through him. He just created this like super fancy website for me, and he made like this really nice things, but he wanted everything to go through him. And it's almost like he just took over who I am, and I'm like a very independent woman. Like it's almost like I lost my identity, and it's just like I became smaller and smaller. And if you see videos from me from when I was with him, you could see the energy on my face. Like it's just like different. And where I was going with this is like the moment I left him, like literally the moment I left him, I blew up. Literally the moment I left him. It's just insane, like how huge block of energy, like 10K first month, like after, like when I left him. And it's just, I think it's an important message to put out there that it's, especially in relationships, if you feel like there's people, you know, that they're bringing you down, it's just like a very bad sign.
Totally. Yeah, I've said this a few times on the show, and there's this expression of what I call crab people. And so what that means is that what most people don't realize is that if you think about a crab trap, the thing at the bottom of an ocean there's actually a hole in the top of a crab trap. And so like if a crab fell in there and they wanted to get out, they could just essentially swim out of the crab trap. But the reason that they don't is because the other crabs in the trap will grab them and pull them down. And I think often that we have people like that in our life that we don't realize that are basically just like pulling us down to their level. So I think it's just like recognizing that energetic expression that you were not fully being able to express anymore because of what happened there. Why did you decide to get with this person, and what did you learn from that relationship?
Wow. So I'm very grateful for that relationship. I know it sounds crazy because that's just the way I see things in life. I think everything is either teaching us a really good lesson or we can just grow from it. The reason I got into this is because I was 27 at the time and I never been in a relationship in my life. It's like I wanted to prove myself that I'm normal in that way. Because I was thinking like, am I like, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I be in a relationship? Like, so it's just like almost like whoever would be there, it would be the person. Just whoever it would be. And it's so funny because I actually really manifested him, because a year prior to that I drove from Vegas to Austin, and I drove for like 20 hours, and I made like a 6-minute message that I manifested my man, and I'm like saying who he is, and we're gonna be together in a year from now, and everything happened exactly what I wanted is what I got. And then I was thinking about manifestation. I'm like, I mean, like, is it good? Is it not good? I mean, it was a good lesson, but then on the other hand, it was like, it's just like there was a lot of ego from it. Like, oh, I know we're gonna be together. I know how you're gonna be like, and sometimes you just have to kind of like surrender and let go. And I feel like that's something that I couldn't get that part. And what I learned from that relationship is, first, that I can be in a relationship and I'm a very good partner. Second of all, is that my feminine came out like a lot. So I was very, very masculine before, pretty much since the moment I was created inside my mom's womb. I know it's crazy to say, but because I did some therapy, so I went there actually in like guided imagery. I found out that I put on my masculinity since I was created. And it's like, because also the way I was brought up, it's like men are strong, powerful, like, you know, women are like the slaves, they like the weak, they have to take care of, like they're like nothing. So just growing up with that mentality, automatically when I got out to the world, especially when I was 14, I was like, I have to be like super masculine because I have to make sure that, you know, no one is like swallowing me out there. So I definitely put it on. And then my ex really helped me to get my feminine out because he was like very masculine. So 7 months of being with him just made me just stay in my feminine. And not only that, when I left the relationship, I was so in my feminine and the strongest I've ever been in my entire life.
That's cool. That's great that you were able to take away that lesson from it of just like learning how to tap into your feminine side. You said something now a couple times that I want to pull the thread on, of wanting to feel normal. Is that a common thread in your life? And let me follow up that question with also, what do you feel like motivates you? Like, what is it that keeps you going and wanting to be? Because that is, for sure, it's very masculine energy, right? Like go-getting, charging forward, trying to get what you want, like leaving Israel, starting a business. That's all just like very, I guess you could say, masculine. So I'm curious as to what motivates you.
Seeing the world, what's going on in the world, it kind of scares me. So I feel like I have to be here to make some changes with whatever I can. You know, it really motivates me to just create better in the world. And I really enjoy the human experience. It's really fun. You know, just like even like smelling, seeing, hearing things. It's really cool if you think about it. We just take it for granted. I mean, it's just like enjoying the time I'm here and make sure I have the right community and people around me and create more of that good and try to create more of the good, so the bad is not, or the dysfunctional is not taking over and I have to run away from it.
What do you think normal is? Because that was the other thing I was curious as to, well, is you feel like you're not normal sometimes. And I guess two parts of that question is, what is even normal? And do you feel like you are or not?
I think I'm definitely not normal and I'm not thriving to be normal. It's just like, I want it to be normal in a sense that I can be in a relationship like, regular like people in general, like humans,
non-robot.
I just wanted to be like a human, you know. Oh my god,
what else would you be?
Exactly, this alien. Corey brought an alien to the show.
Yeah. Now I don't know.
No, like I feel like normal, I don't want to say it in a way that it sounds like bad, but I feel like people that kind of like let life happen to them and like they're following society rules and matrix, I would say, you know.
So like societal norms you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like go to college, get a job, get married, have kids, buy a house, etc., etc.
I mean, not that there's a problem with that. It's just like I feel like just like if someone is enjoying to do like doing that, that's totally awesome. Like I really all for just really listen to what you really want to do. If that's what you want to do, that's cool, go for it. But I just feel like sometimes people just do it because it's part of the society that we live in, and we just have to do it because everybody's doing it, right? So just like kind of like doing what everybody's doing.
Totally agree. And I kudos to you for having the self-awareness to figure that out earlier. Because even speaking for myself, I was for sure caught in that trap. Like I definitely went to school, went to college, like in the relationship, get in a house with a female, like the whole thing. I was even actually going to go to a PhD program before I actually ended up not doing it and dropping out, and could not be happier that where I'm at today of now doing my own thing here in Austin. But I was 100% the person checking the boxes. And so I can totally relate to that. So kudos to you for even figuring that out at such a young age. It sounds like even before a young age, it sounds like in the womb, you're like, nope, I'm doing my own thing. Like, this is not where I'm supposed to be, Mom. Like,
seriously, that's what I said. Didn't belong.
So you said you drove 20 hours to come to Austin, Texas. What was even the initial trigger to come to Austin, Texas? Why did you leave Las Vegas?
Well, I don't know if you've ever been to Vegas.
I have.
Okay. Have you been to the city or the strip? Or?
Yeah, I mean the classic tourist stuff. My parents, oddly enough, got married there. Funny story. But total
well,
tangent.
That sounds like one of the crazier stories of Vegas for sure. Yeah. They're very out there. Well, I was in Vegas for 6 years because my two sisters were there. I did not have any friends for 6 years, and I thought that I have like a social problem, like I can't have friends. And then so some of my friends moved here to Austin, and in 2021 I came to Austin 3 times, and every single time I came here to visit, I was like, something in the vibe feels like I should be here. Like the first time it was just a voice, second time another voice, third time I was like, okay, I'm going to move here. I'm going to move to Austin because I feel like this is where I need to be. So I moved in August 2021. Best freaking decision I've ever made in my entire life. I mean, some of the few. But this, like, the vibe, the energy, the people, it's just like exactly what I needed. It's exactly my vibe, you know?
Yeah, I agree. That's the same reason that I'm here. And you got into your fitness journey, though, when you were still in Las Vegas, correct? And you went through kind of a unique route of, because you used to smoke, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And so now somehow you're an online trainer, and nothing against that, because even when I was in college, actually, there was times where like if I was drinking, I would have a cigarette, or chewing was really big where I went to school. I'm from Minnesota, and so chewing's a big deal up there. So that was not unusual for me at all. But so I totally get it. But,
like nicotine?
Yeah. Like tobacco.
Yeah.
Super attractive. Women loved it.
Oh, ew.
The best part, I'm kidding, obviously, but like the best part actually, and when I say best part, I mean the worst part, is we would have parties and people would just spit in beer bottles or whatever, right? And oftentimes somebody would accidentally grab a spitter and like drink it like it was a beer.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
Stop. Please stop. Stop.
That was not uncommon.
If someone's eating right now, they're like, okay, bye. Thanks for ruining my meal, Corey.
That was not uncommon, but
oh my God.
Totally digress. But so you, Vegas, so this is how you got into fitness?
Yeah, well, I got into fitness, so I was definitely in the army. Like I started smoking when I was like 16, smoking cigarettes, and I smoked probably until I was like 20, in the middle of like after the first year of the military. So after the first year of the military, what got me to stop smoking is I came to visit here my sister and brother-in-law, and they were eating healthy. So they told me, Hannah, if you come to stay with us, you're gonna have to stop smoking because we don't want nicotine on our couch, and we just like, you're gonna have to stop for like a month. Otherwise, like you're not staying here. So I was like, okay, no problem. I'm just gonna stop for like a month. It's fine. I'm just gonna come back to it later. Because in Israel, it's very common. Everybody smokes in Israel. In Israel, if you don't smoke cigarettes, especially in the army, you're gonna find yourself by yourself. You're not gonna have friends because it's like a thing, you know. So going back to Israel, after being here for 1 month, I ate healthy, and I was like, I actually feel really good. So that was like a glimpse. And then I came back to Israel, and I was like, you know what? I don't need to keep smoking. I'm good. I think I'm good. And then I started to like buy healthy food in Israel. And then I was like, okay, let's try fitness now. And then I started working out while I was in the army. And I was like, you know what? I actually really like it. And it became like 100% fitness and nutrition saved my life. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for that. Not just because of my business, but also because of who I am as a person, you know? It really saved me. I could go definitely easily to the other direction.
Of drinking, drugs, smoking, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even worse. Yeah.
Yeah, or religion even. And it's funny that you bring that up, even to our original conversation of sort of similar story of myself of I got into fitness. A relationship ended when I was like 17, spun me into a really dark depression. And it was essentially just fitness and starting to take care of myself that pulled me out of that depression. And so like ever since then, I very strongly associate just my general happiness and well-being with fitness and being healthy. Those are just hardwired in my brain now because of that experience. But I always think about exactly what you talked about of it could have been anything, right? It could have been drinking. It could have been like try this drug, or it could have been come to this church. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it literally could have been anything, right? And so I think a lot about that. So it's cool that you were able to find that outlet at that time. So did you just carry that over into everything else you started doing, or like how did that move forward for you in terms of like fitness showing up in your life?
Yeah. So I was working out since 2015 and 2014. And then I just worked out, ate healthy, and then I decided, you know what, maybe I'll take a personal training course just for fun, just so I can know what I'm doing, because I don't really know what I'm doing. So I decided to take a course in 2018.
What were you doing at the time? Just picking stuff up and setting it down? Like
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I definitely hit a plateau. I definitely got to a point where I was like, and I think it was like I was eating very healthy, but I was not, the macros were unbalanced and like too many calories, like so many things. I was like, and it's funny because I talk to people all day and that's like something I see a lot of people are struggling with. But yeah, I decided to take the course, and I took the course in 2018, like NASM. So I did NASM in Body Design University. It was like an actual course in Atlanta. And I became a coach, started working at gyms and like personal training studios. I would like teach classes and stuff like that. And then one-on-one until COVID. And then COVID happened. So they closed the gyms, and I went from that to do Zoom one-on-ones. I did that for a little bit. And then I ran into this course that I took for like online coaches, and I took the course, and it was like a huge game changer for me.
What was it about that course that changed things for you? Because I've heard you mention that a few times about just coaches and courses and mentorship. What were maybe the lessons that you feel like were the biggest things that other people could take away from your experience with those?
The best thing, I was so afraid from sales calls. I was like, I cannot sell things. I'm a horrible salesperson. I hate selling. I don't want to be salesy. How can I sell? Things like that. And when I took the course, my strongest thing right now in my business is sales calls. Like my conversion rate is like over 70%. Like it's pretty good. Like I feel like, because I really don't feel like I'm selling. That's the thing. I feel like I'm actually here to help this person, and I know I can change your life. And I feel like the more I'm working with more people, it's actually this like proof over and over again, like, oh, you're actually good at it. Because, in the beginning, it was a lot of imposter syndrome and a lot of like, I'm not good enough. What do I know? What am I saying? I don't know if it's right. I don't even know if I'm doing the exercise right, even though I'm a coach. But then I'm seeing my clients keep seeing the results. And then also the way I feel with myself, and the way they, like what they tell me, like little things that they feel, if it's like, getting rid of bloating, all these things, it's like proof for me that I'm doing something right. So I feel like, I'm actually changing people's life. Like, I don't feel like I'm selling you anything. I feel like I'm here to help you change your life, to make a healthy lifestyle.
So for the listener, because I want to double tap that, and I think you're more talking about it instilled a level of belief in you that you're actually genuinely helping people. Mm-hmm. So you don't feel like you're selling. You feel like you're actually giving somebody something that's of value to them. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah. And the main thing is because I've been there myself. Like my main thing is mindful eating. And I feel like I've been struggling so much. Like I was very good in the beginning of my journey, my fitness journey, to be on calorie counting, restrict myself, counting my calories, making sure that I do all these workouts and make sure, did intermittent fasting for like 3 years, 20 hours of fast, 4 hours of eating, plant-based, keto, anything. And there's nothing wrong with these things. It's just like, I feel like it's very important to understand that whatever works for person A may not be the best thing for person B. It really depends who you are and what you're struggling with. I had emotional eating. That's why I went and did intermittent fasting. So instead of fixing the root cause of the problem, I put myself in box and restricted myself for 20 hours. And then in the 4 hours that I was eating, I was like literally eating nonstop. And I looked great, because still you're not gonna, that's like what intermittent fasting is all about. But the problem is that it really fucked up my mental health. Like it really fucked up the way I look at food, my relationship with food. And And just like I found the thing for me that I experienced that myself, you know, when someone is like counting calories and they still binging in the evening, I see it all the time, and I'm like, yes, I've been there. I know how it feels. Oh, someone is like had a rough day and they've been binging, like they just want ice cream. Yes, I've been there. I know how you feel like. So it makes it so much easier for me to really understand who I'm talking to, and that's why this is specifically what I'm doing. And I'm not just like, oh, here, take your fitness program and nutrition program, because everybody, like a lot of coaches can do that. But I feel like the thing that I add is something that I struggled with many years. And I can help you with it because I've done that myself, and I see it with my clients over and over again.
I can relate with a lot of that. I've competed in a couple of physique shows where you're seriously insanely dialed in on every single macronutrient that's coming into your body. And you're right, there's no question. There was a huge window of time where I probably for sure had some form of eating disorder because I was so dialed in on every single calorie that I was eating. And it took me a very long time to work out of that and learn how to actually just listen to my body and eat like a normal human again. Mm-hmm. And now even to this day, as we were talking about before we started recording, how I'm training for this marathon, and there's a degree now where I kind of want to get back into tracking only because I'm fearful that I'm not getting enough calories for how much I'm training right now. But every part of my soul dies the second I start having to punch numbers into my tracking again. And I feel great. I'm doing well. My training's improving. But at the same time, there's like this delicate balance of, are you getting the nutrients that you need, and are you aware of it? And also, do you just like feel good and not feel like you need to track every single meal you eat throughout the day? So it's been interesting for me as well.
Yeah, I feel like it depends who you are and what your goals are. So now, if you have a specific goal that you know you're running, for example, you know that there is that specific goal. There's nothing wrong with like counting calories, and you just know that it's like a specific goal that you're working towards. Like, let's say someone's getting married and they want to lose extra weight, and they have to be a little more strict, but when you're talking about making it a lifestyle in a way that you enjoy, you have to just learn how to be in tune with your body and hunger and fullness cues. So as simple as that, eat when you're actually hungry, stop eating when you start being full. And make sure your plate are balanced, and plate balance with protein, carbs, you know, like veggies, along with mindful eating. You're not going to have problem of overeating. You're not going to have problem of restricting yourself. Like, because I found for me, like, when I stopped doing the restriction thing and counting my calories and being like on the numbers all the time, and even the scale, like checking my weight every day, not only it really affected me and like really put some negative thoughts in my head. And when I looked in the mirror, I was like, you're fat, you know, like all these things those things are actually also like very underrated. Like what you tell yourself when you look in the mirror, that's totally. Like a huge thing. Totally. That's a whole thing. But I think once for me, I stopped being so obsessive on the numbers and the calorie counting. It just happened naturally. It's like I released this screw, and it's like just like flowing, you know.
Yeah,
I feel strong. I feel like I'm going to the gym when I'm going. I'm not overtraining like I used to do. I'm healthy. I feel like I feel good about myself. I look in the mirror and I love myself. I think that's like important, you know. Make sure you eat healthy.
I do want to get back to your journey specifically, but before we do, I want to pull on this thread one more time because I do think this is interesting, and I'd be curious if you have any quote unquote rules that you follow for something like this, because just speaking for myself, something that I've followed for years now and it's served me really well, and it's what allowed me to get away from a lot of the tracking stuff, is that I really follow three rules, and I've found following those has made it very hard, if not almost impossible at times, to overeat. And it's literally eat whole foods as much as possible, eat the rainbow, so just a lot of variety, and eat when I'm hungry and don't when I'm not.
Yeah.
Those are my only rules. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, it seems to keep me on track, especially too because I do a lot of training and weightlifting, so like obviously that helps. Mm-hmm. But I found that when I follow those rules, it's really hard to overeat. I feel like the overeating happens of like all the sugars and processed and everything else, right? Do you have rules for yourself or that you work with clients?
Yeah. So the main thing for me is to practice mindful eating, meaning when you sit down to eat, make sure there's no distractions. Like be present with your food. Not only you're not going to overeat, but also you're actually going to enjoy your food better. So what I tell my clients is when you eat and you notice the taste, the texture, the color, the weight, the temperature, like in your mouth, not only you enjoy so much more, but you are going to not overeat and savor every bite. But also the way I tell them is like, when you focus on your taste and really like be so present with your food and you taste every taste of everything and you feel the taste in your toe, that's when you're doing it right.
What?
Yeah. When you feel the taste in your toe, that's when you're doing it right. I don't know if you ever heard of eating meditation. Have you?
No, but explain it to me.
It's basically when you eat and you can close your eyes and you just like chew your food and you kind of like observing yourself from the side, like your tongue and teeth coming together and tastes and texture and temperature and the weight of your food. This is like a little higher degree of that, but just like on a regular, like if let's say you sit in a table with friends and you have dinner, just to be very mindful about the taste, the texture, like things like that. And then you try to to feel the taste in your body. Then you like when you actually feel it in your toe, that's when you're doing it right. And you will get there.
You seem like a very present, mindful, meditative type person. Is that an accurate assumption?
That's very true. That's very, very true.
Have you always been that way?
No, no. Oh my God. 3.5 years ago, if you tell me the word meditation, I would tell you, don't talk to me. No, I don't want to hear about med. No, stop. It's not for me. Starting therapy really kind of like led me to it. And I also found that the regular thing about meditation is like very like boring for me to not think of anything because I'm not an overthinking person. So my mind is always empty.
Okay.
So it's like boring for me to sit there. And I also see why people that are overthinking, it's hard for them because you just think about not thinking and then you think and then it's like, ugh. But instead, I like to do other things in my meditations. I like to be like productive in my meditation. Like I have like my meditation place beyond space and I meet some people like my higher self there and I go there and I do things and I kind of like check in with myself depending on where I'm at in life. But that's something that I do. Sometimes I do like guided meditation that is like this specific woman that I really like listening to. But yeah, like I feel like also even just like driving, literally driving is like while you're driving, it can be the best meditation. So while I'm driving, like especially long drives, it's just like be super present with my body, like feel my body against the chair, feel the AC on my face. Notice what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm like touching, like different texture when you touch, like when you touch your skin or clothes, your steering wheel, like when you hear different sounds and you can touch your heart and feel the beat of the music in your body. That's another form of meditation. You know what I mean? You can meditate while I'm working on my laptop. I can meditate, just be very present in my body. So there's a lot to it.
A lot of things are adding up for me as we're spending this time together of kind of who you are and what makes you tick, because so much of what you're describing to me, which I don't know if you realize this or not, but you actually seem to have a very creative, imaginary mind. You seem to be able to, I'm assuming, I have no idea, but it seems like you have the capacity to just like have very vivid imagery in your brain and the ideas. I don't, for the record. So I want you to know, like, this is something very unique of something that you have, of a skill that you have. And I don't know if you're aware of that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I started visualizing when I was very young because I was in such a rough environment. So I was like always imagining me like living in a different house with different parents, with different life, with like freedom, So I was like always, my mind was always like imagining like from a very young age. I think visualizations really helps with that.
This makes so much sense to me of who you are now today. So you were using that ability to go somewhere else in your mind as almost like an escape from the environment that you were in as a kid. Mm-hmm. And now you have that skill set today of being able to do it from other things, of going to your, what you call a third place or whatever it was, or your other...
Yeah, beyond space.
Beyond space.
So cool over there. So cool. Oh my God.
But I do, I believe you. But I just wanted to point that out because I think so often that when we are innately just good at certain things that we don't realize that that's actually unique, that that's a skill set that we have that most people don't have. And I just want you to be aware of that. That's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So let's continue this journey a little bit. So you moved to Austin, Texas. You fell in love with the community and the culture and the people here and the vibes here. What's your experience been like in Austin and like how's it been? How long have you been here now?
It's been 1.5 years.
Year and a half? Okay. And tell us about that journey then. So you're now continuing to work as an online trainer, getting involved in the community. Like how have things unfolded since you've been here in Austin?
Yeah. So like I said, I have some friends here that I moved for, like they were here when I moved. So I had kind of like a little bit of my people here. And then, over the time, I mean, obviously except those 7 months that I was with my ex, because in those 7 months I was not anywhere. Literally, like, even stepped away from my family, like, just, like, that's what happens, But other than that, I've been putting myself out there a lot. I've been going to networking events, I literally go and dance by myself. Like I'll go to like a festival, like music that I like techno vibe, not the harsh ones, but like I'll go there and I'll just go in a corner and be by myself. I don't drink, I don't take anything in the festivals, and I just go there, dance, go back to my car, literally drive there. So I really enjoy doing things like that by myself. And I actually find that when I do it by myself rather than people, I feel like with people, I mean, I love going with people too, but I feel like when I go with people, I have to be with them, and I like to like meet other people and talk to other people. So I enjoy going by myself. But that's definitely something that wasn't a thing for me.
Are you pretty extroverted?
So I thought that I was introverted, and then I guess I found out that I'm not.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Vegas, I didn't have friends for 6 years, no friends. And I thought I have a problem for real. And then I moved here and I was like, wow, everybody's so nice. And like, it's like putting myself out there more and more here in Austin just made me realize that people here are super cool. Like no one's gonna judge you. And obviously at some point you get to a point where like, even if they judge you, it's like their problem. But I feel like it's just like the more I go out, the more I'm, building that muscle, right? Because just like a muscle, when you work this muscle, it gets stronger and bigger. Same thing social wise, same thing with fitness and nutrition, same thing with relationships, same thing with your mindset, with your spiritual thing, whatever. It's just everything.
Putting in the reps. Do you have an environment that you're not comfortable in? Because I would say a lot of people, even just the dancing one, shout out to my really good friend, Chris Bates. Hope you're listening, brother. But that was one of the things that he used to do, is he used to just go out to places and just dance, and have an awesome time. Is there environments that you weren't comfortable that you've been wanting to go to?
Well, I have environments that I'm not comfortable to go to, so I just don't go there. But if there's a place that I know I'm going to vibe and it's my kind of vibe and my kind of people, I know from advance that there is not going to be an issue.
And the only reason I say that is like sometimes I think that we have to check ourselves on what our discomfort is. So for example, something I did a while back was some stand-up comedy, right? Because that was the most uncomfortable thing I could ever imagine. And
wow.
Yeah, there's very few things more painful than bombing on stage, just saying. But
sounds like it.
But I think dancing would be high on my list as well, or singing in front of others. I play the guitar. That's something not high on my list of something that I want to do. But I was just curious if there's other things on that list of like, this would be uncomfortable, but it's something I want to do just to, as you said, flex the muscle and stress that.
Well, I feel like there was definitely stuff like that. It doesn't happen as much anymore for me because a lot of work that I've been doing on myself. Spiritually, a lot of growth, a lot of healing, and all these things makes me just like develop my confidence like to a whole another level. Like my confidence and my self-access becomes so strong. So I'm like, it's just like everything is within me. So if like, even like when it comes to like motivation, like in the past, I felt like I had to like listen to books and podcasts like every single morning to get motivated. And now I feel like if I connect to myself and go back to myself and go back to my heart, that's actually what's going to keep me the drive, because that's like what is like I love podcasts and books. It's just like, I don't need it to get that motivation that I need. It just comes from within me. And I feel like it's just like to develop this self-access and self-strength and confidence. And that really helps with everything else, And
I think there's a season of going through that I think most people go through, because I'm the same way, is that oftentimes I for sure love podcasts, obviously someone that has one, or reading books or consuming content. But I think there's also a transition phase where you realize that some of it can just be kind of a waste of time, and it's almost like cognitive candy versus actually like just doing the thing that you actually want to do, as opposed to listening to the thing that you want to do. So what about the future of what you're doing now today? Like, where do you see things going moving forward?
Well, I this year I started YouTube like 3 months ago. And so this year, obviously getting very serious with YouTube and growing my YouTube channel. And then following to that, I'm going to create an online course for mindful eating. So that's kind of like my big project in the next year. And then eventually I know it's kind of like a little off track, but it's kind of like connects to it in a way, becoming a facilitator for ceremonies for plant medicine. So that's something that definitely is in my future. Like I can definitely see it. So yeah, so keep doing the one-on-one, hiring some more staff to that, and people that can help me with like edit the videos and stuff like that, and focus on YouTube, the mindful eating course, and then doing the facilitator stuff.
What's the attraction to psychedelics, and what did you get from it yourself?
I have a family member that's close, and she's been in the work for many years, since 1998. And when I started getting exposed to psychedelics, it was more like just psilocybin, like taking mushrooms on a hike or whatever, or just to kind of like have fun, take MD at a festival. And it was fun, it was amazing, but and there's a but, it's great. And I felt like for me it was a very spiritual experience, very good way for me to connect to myself. However, like my spiritual battery, like I felt like it was charging when I was doing this on my own. However, doing the ceremonies, like I started doing the ceremonies last like July, and that was like a huge game changer for me, because then I was like, this is so powerful. Psychedelics it's like literally, the way I see it, it's like the thing that's gonna save the world, this world. Yeah, for sure, 100%. Like the medicine has like very like strong qualities that can help you become whoever you want, and just build that confidence within you, the self-access that I was talking about, and so much more. Heal, grow, spiritual growth, and it's different for different people depending on who they are, where they're at, where they want to go to. It really depends. It's going to be a little different from one person to another.
I've never openly talked about this on the podcast show, but I've never done an actual quote unquote full dose of any sort of psychedelics, but I've done some microdoses. Actually, not that long ago, we did a microdose prior to going scuba diving. Luckily, I must have like a really high tolerance to it, because honestly, I didn't really notice much. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely something that's been in my wheelhouse of interest literally since last year, ever since I went to a few panels at South by Southwest that they were talking all about it and the benefits of it. And even like the thing that stands out to me the most of something that they talked about of the benefits of it is they talked about most of your conscious awareness is the equivalent of like your foot on the floor right now, versus your subconscious awareness is like the floor of this entire building. Mm-hmm. And so the only way to sometimes see everything else that's happening subconsciously is psychedelics or psilocybin, and it basically shines the flashlight on all the other things that you've never been able to see otherwise.
Yeah. So the way I say it always, imagine, I'll tell you, Corey, think about colors that doesn't exist, that don't exist in the world. You're not going to be able to think about a color that's not exist because you've never seen it. It's not you don't know how it looks like. So basically what the medicine does, it creates that new color in your brain. And then you can take that color and apply it, and now it cannot be unseen. You've seen this color. Same thing. Another example is like, imagine that in life you see like one door that you can go through. So what the medicine does, instead of that one door, it opens like 10 more windows that you can go through that you don't see. That medicine helps you to access different things, whether if your mind, your body, your heart, your spirit, it can help you access different things that even from past lives, depends where you're going with it. And I don't want to like scare anyone, but you can really like, it can.
You can go through a door with gremlins. Things can get weird.
Yeah. But it's important to mention that this is why it's so important to do it in the right environment, and the right support and the right guidance, because it can be like the way you say it, and like like a bad trip, quote unquote, they don't call it like that in the ceremonies, but a bad trip in general can lead someone to kill themselves. Mm-hmm. Like if they do it on their own. And in ceremonies, a bad trip, quote unquote, can actually lead you to something very freaking powerful. Totally. Very healing, very healing. I actually had one of those, and it was like I could understand why people kill themselves, because I experienced that. And it was very powerful to come out of it and just realize what I realized. And I'm like, oh my God, I just started.
Yeah, the environment's so important. Not that long ago, somebody invited me to do it for the first time. Again, like I said, I've never actually done it. And the environment wasn't right, though, because she's like, yeah, we're going to go to this cuddle and mushroom party with like all these other people. And I was like, I don't think that's a good way for me to do this the first time. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. Yeah, so much anxiety around like, what do you? Yes. No, totally. Because even marijuana, I don't ever touch it anymore because it makes me very anxious. I really don't like it at all.
Same.
But,
yeah.
Anyways, I have a round of rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's whatever the first thing is that comes to mind. What's your best business advice?
When you feel like something is right or not right, like don't do it or do it.
Yeah, I'm terrible about that, but that is good advice. What's your favorite part about entrepreneurship?
Freedom.
America. Best marketing advice.
Just show up, just be authentic as much as you can.
When are you the most productive?
In the morning.
Who is your inspiration?
My aunt.
Why?
She's very spiritual. She's like my spiritual mentor. So she's been helping me through a lot.
Tell me one secret about you or something that just most people don't know about you.
I speak a little bit Korean. Super random.
That is random. How did you learn Korean?
I watched a lot of Korean dramas.
Still?
No.
I
don't watch anything now.
That is so random. What would you change about yourself?
Nothing.
What's your favorite app or resource right now?
ChatGPT, my best friend.
When were you the happiest?
I mean, in the past 3 months, I've been really happy.
Good. What's your favorite part about Austin and you can't say the people?
The community? Oh, it's the people?
I feel like that's people. You got to do better than that.
Okay. Oh, the trees. Duh. I love the trees. I love the green.
Is there not a lot of greenage in Israel?
I mean, no, I wasn't really out there in Israel. Like only in the army, I was like driving a little bit around, so I saw the country a little bit. But I was in a bubble growing up. Definitely no trees. It was building on buildings on like everybody lives congested.
I was walking on the trail yesterday with a friend of mine, and that was one of the topics that we talked about. I think my favorite thing by far is the fact that you can be on a trail covered with trees, basically in the woods, and then not even a block from there, you could be at downtown Austin. And they're just right next to each other and you'd have no idea. That's super cool to me.
Yeah.
So I have one last question. But before I ask that question, I just want to acknowledge you for showing up today and being true and honest and authentic, and from finding a way out of Israel over to the freedom of America, and always carving your own path and doing it from a place of genuinely wanting to help people, and to honestly following your unique journey of wherever you're going with psilocybin and how that's going to help other people. And I just want to say you're doing big things and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really, really.
Absolutely. So before I ask my last question though, what's your plug? Where can people find you?
My Instagram is hanna.healthy. It's my new Instagram. I had Instagram with like 20,000 followers, and then I had really something fucked up in my algorithm, so I had to make a new one. So now it's Hanna sorry, that's my old one. Hanna.healthy, Hanna no H at the end. And then on YouTube, it's Hanna Healthy. Again, Hanna no H at the end.
We'll put that in the show notes. So last question, it's really whatever your best piece of advice is for other business owners or entrepreneurs out there. So like if you were to start over from ground zero of even starting this online training, coaching business that you're doing here today, what's maybe the best piece of advice you could give to yourself or anyone else that would be in a similar place of wanting to start a business?
Take care of your mental health. Take care of your mental health. It's super important. Like, just to give you an example, like when I was in Vegas, when I started this, I used to work 20 hours a day, and I used to wake up at 4 a.m., going to the gym for like 2.5 hours, eating really everything like was like military, and I was like putting all the work. But the problem is that I had no clarity. That's like the first thing. The second thing is that I did not take care of my mental health. Like I didn't take time to slow down, to connect to myself, to connect with others. It's so important having community and support, and connect to yourself and take care of you so you can take care of everybody else, so you can show up for others.
That's good. Appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
Hey friend, thanks for listening to the show. And if you have any feedback for me about the show or any other guests that you'd want to see in the show, definitely shoot me a message. I love engaging with my audience and figuring out how I can provide the best value possible to the people listening to this show. Before you go, I only have one ask of you, and that would be to check out my 3 Tips Tuesday newsletter. It's 3 marketing tips every Tuesday specifically for the health and fitness entrepreneur to help them attract new leads. If you press the link in the description, it'll take you directly to the archive of all my previous newsletters, and you can decide for yourself if it's something for you. If you end up finding it helpful, you can just sign up for the newsletter and you'll get it in your inbox every Tuesday. Thanks again, and keep hustling, my friends.